What's up, sports fans? Today we got a super special video that I'm really excited for. Today we're gonna be going over my top 10 NFL mock draft picks, for this upcoming 2020 draft that we got coming on Thursday. It's a little bit of sports we get to have throughout this horrible, terrible time. We're all stuck at home. We finally get that little taste of sports. I'm really glad they didn't cancel it. That really would have sucked for all of us. But, anyways, today we're going to be going over my mock draft. Of course, I'm only doing the first 10 right now. This is part 1. I'm going to be doing a part 2 and a part 3. So stay tuned for that. And if you're really excited for this, please hit the like button. I would really appreciate that. It really helps me out. It took a while to make this. Anyways, let's get it popping, boys. Real quick look away as I put this into presentation mode. Alright, we're good. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. I'm super excited for this. Let's get it popping. Number 1. Now let me start by saying I'm not gonna be predicting any trades in this draft. I am gonna talk about spots I think trades could occur, but I'm not actually gonna go ahead and have any trades happen in the mock draft. I just think that's a little too complicated to do. It's too hard to understand. It's easier to understand what trades might be picked. It's harder to understand who's gonna move up to those spots. So, I just think it's a little too complicated to do, and I'm going to stay away from that. Anyways, enough rambling. Let's get into the video. Number 1, we got the Bengals. Their top needs are quarterback, cornerback, and offensive tackle. And for me, really, the only option for them is to not trade and to take a franchise quarterback. 1 being Joe Burrow, 2 being Tua Tagovailoa, 3 being Justin Herbert, and 4, you can throw a 4th in there, Jordan Love. Any of those guys are reasonable, but in my opinion, the safest and the best to pick is Joe Burrow himself. 8,665 passing yards, 76 touchdowns on 11 interceptions, 68.5% completion rating, and he played in the SEC against those animal SEC defenses, likes of Alabama, likes of Auburn, likes of Georgia. I don't know what this kid hasn't proved. He's got the highest grade coming out of the draft since Andrew Luck in 2012, which is really incredible. Personally, and I know this is a little bit of a bold take, but personally, I think Tua Tagovailoa is a little bit better. I just think that if you're the Bengals and you're picking number 1 and you need a franchise quarterback and you haven't had a franchise quarterback in a long time, I'm not including the Andy Dalton years, I'm not including the Carson Palmer years, you really need to make this pick, and you need it to be a safe pick. So that's why I'm taking Joe Burrow over the likes of Tua Tagovailoa at number 1 for the Bengals. Moving on. We've got the Redskins at 2. They're in need of an edge rusher, a wide receiver, an offensive tackle, cornerback, quarterback. Options: Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State, Tua Tagovailoa out of Alabama, Chase Young out of Ohio State, and Justin Herbert out of Oregon. Again, another option would be Jordan Love out of Utah State. Here, I think this is a really easy pick. I wouldn't take Tua just because I know that they're considering Tua because they're not certain about Haskins, but I wouldn't take Tua just because of the injury concern. And right here, I just think this guy's too good to pass up on, Chase Young. I think he's the best pass rusher we've seen out of Ohio State in the past. And that's saying a lot out of Ohio State. I'm essentially saying he's better than the Bosa's. In my opinion, he's better than the Bosa's. He had something crazy. I know you're reading all those stats. Go ahead and read them. He had something crazy like 13 sacks through 8 games this past year. I mean, that's fucking incredible. Basically, before they started double and triple teaming this kid, he was unstoppable. So he's gonna draw double teams like the back of his hand. You're gonna have to at least double team him. He's one of those dudes. I think he's a future Hall of Famer as long as he keeps his act together and he stays healthy, in my opinion. I know that that's saying a lot right off the bat, but that's just my opinion. And that's what I would do if I was the Redskins. You got Ron Rivera, defensive-minded coach. He's really gonna like this kid, trust me. Moving on. We've got now I'm going to try to speed up just so we can keep this relatively short. We've got the Lions at 3. They're in need of a cornerback at anything on the defensive line, really, and an interior offensive lineman. Options: Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State, Derek Brown out of Auburn, Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa, Tua Tagovailoa out of Alabama. Again, I would say Andrew Thomas is even an option here if you were going to go on the line. Or an Isaiah Simmons is an option if you wanted to go safety. But in my opinion, and this might surprise some people, I think they should go quarterback. I think Tua Tagovailoa at this point is a little bit too good to pass up on. And I think that this is probably where somebody's going to trade up and the Lions are going to trade back and probably get their guy later in the draft, probably like 6 or 7. And someone's going to trade up and come get this kid. I just don't think he falls past the top 3 in my opinion. I think at some point someone's going to trade up and get him. If not, if someone doesn't pick him. 69.3% completion rate, 7,442 passing yards, 87 touchdowns on 11 interceptions in the SEC. Against all those SEC defenses, same I said as Joe Burrow. That's absolutely incredible, man. 87 touchdowns on 11 interceptions. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. That's in like basically 2 seasons as well. I mean, that's ridiculous to me. Those are insane stats, man. Those are really insane stats. And I think he's as long as he can stay healthy, which is the big thing about him, right? I think he's just really talented. In my opinion, he's the most talented quarterback in this draft, and I think he has the highest it factor in this draft. If anybody can turn into a Hall of Fame quarterback out of this draft, I think it's this kid right here. Moving on. We have got the Giants. They're in need of a defensive end, an offensive tackle, a cornerback, or a safety. Options: Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa, Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State, Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson, Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. This was a toss-up for me between my 2 favorite tackles in the draft, Tristan Wirfs and Andrew Thomas. But in the end, I went with the combine freak himself, the guy who jumped out of a pool of water, Tristan Wirfs. 6'5", 322. He's the second biggest tackle in the draft, right behind Mekhi Becton out of Louisville. I think this guy's a freak, man. If the power in his legs is absolutely incredible. And you know, for those reasons, Iowa's been breeding offensive tackles, by the way, and tight ends alike. They really know how. The guy the head coach at Iowa used to play, I'm pretty sure he played O-line in the NFL, and he really knows what he's doing. So, he knows how to coach these kids for sure. Don't get me wrong, they're getting good prospects, but he knows how to coach these kids. And a lot of the reason they're getting such good offensive line prospects is because he's such a good head coach. Moving on, we've got the Dolphins at 5. Needs: quarterback, offensive tackle, guard, running back. They're really in dire need of a quarterback. I don't think they go anything else other than quarterback. Options are Justin Herbert, Oregon, Jordan Love, Utah State, Andrew Thomas, Georgia, Jeff Okudah, Ohio State. Again, I think they go quarterback here. And I'm going to surprise some people. I think they're going to go with Jordan Love, who doesn't have the sexiest stats. Only 61.2% completion rating, 60 touchdowns and 29 interceptions. Those aren't the greatest stats in the world. He did have 8,600 passing yards, and he is a mobile quarterback, and that's the reason I think they should take him. I think he fits today's NFL just a little bit better than Herbert, even though Herbert had that great combine. And I think that he fits the brand of football that the Dolphins want to play. Moving on. We've got the Chargers, who are also in need of a quarterback, offensive tackle, guard, or cornerback. The options are Justin Herbert out of Oregon, Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State, Andrew Thomas out of Georgia, and Jedrick Wills out of Alabama. Now, you can say Jeff Okudah's slipping, which I would agree he is slipping, but there's a lot of talent in this draft, and you know what? He's going to slip a little bit more. I have them taking Justin Herbert, who had 10,541 passing yards, 64% completion rating, 95 touchdowns, and 23 interceptions in his four-year career at Oregon. Those are solid stats, man. Really solid stats. And he had that incredible combine. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a fantastic player. Wow, what just came... There was some Laffy Taffy on my hat, my friends. That's embarrassing. Let's act like that didn't happen. Anyways, we've got... I've just lost my whole train of thought. Yeah, I have him as the fourth quarterback being taken, and the fourth quarterback being taken in the top 6, which, trust me, is gonna cause a lot of guys to fall. A lot more than people expect, I think. I do think 4 quarterbacks will be picked within the top 10. I know I'm going a little bit bold by saying 4 are going to be taken in the top 6, but I genuinely think that's what's going to happen. Moving on. You've got the Panthers. They're in need of a defensive tackle, a cornerback, a safety, offensive tackle. They really shipped out their whole defense, man. They lost a lot of guys in free agency. Eric Reed. They lost Bradbury, a cornerback. They lost, what's his name on the D-line? Turner, I think his name was. And they've always been in need of offensive tackles. The options are Derek Brown, who a lot of people are saying they should take, I've noticed. Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State, Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson, and Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. I think that there's an obvious pick here for this team. Especially, it's something they haven't had in a while, and it really helps them. Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State. If this happens, I'm telling you right now, the Panthers front office is going to jump in a frenzy of fun and excitement, because they need someone to stop the likes of Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans. And I think if anybody's the guy to do it, it's this kid right here. He's, in my opinion, the best corner to come out of Ohio State in the past 10 years, which is saying a lot because we had Denzel Ward and Marshawn Lattimore and Garyon Conley come out of Ohio State within the past 4 or 5 years. So that's saying a lot, man. And I think he's the guy to stop, to at least prohibit some of what those guys do. And if in their division, and if you're curious, why does he only, it caught my eye as well. Why does he only have 3 interceptions? Why is there only 1 forced fumble? Why is there only 18 pass deflections? You know what, man? I realized they don't throw his way a lot. That's how much of a lockdown corner he is. I watched a lot of Ohio State games, man. They really didn't throw his way a lot. Teams that were playing against him did not throw his way a lot at all. He played in the Big Ten, which is a big-time conference. He knows how to play football. I think that this kid, he can tackle well as well, which is a lot from a corner. I think that he's the most fundamentally sound corner in the draft in the past 10 years. And I think he's a surefire pick. Moving on, we've got the Cardinals at 8. They're in need of an offensive tackle desperately. I think that's what they're going to do. Even with Isaiah Simmons and Derek Brown dropping, I think that Andrew Thomas or Jedrick Wills has to be picked here. You can throw Mekhi Becton in there as well, the kid out of Louisville. I'm going to go with Jedrick Wills, which I know I said I like Andrew Thomas a little bit more. It's really a hair for me, Andrew Thomas over Jedrick Wills. He's 6'4", 312. My reasoning for picking him here, I'm going to be honest, it's kind of selfish. I want a team later on to get Andrew Thomas. But Jedrick Wills is a great piece as well. And if you're curious why I'm pretty sure he played right tackle at Alabama. And the reasoning for that is because Tua Tagovailoa, his quarterback at the time, obviously, is a lefty. So he was guarding his blind side. He was protecting his blind side. So I would expect him to play left tackle for the Cardinals. And yeah, I don't see why you'd pick a guy this high not to throw him at left tackle. Anyways, moving on. The Jaguars. We got the needs are safety, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, linebacker. We've got Derek Brown out of Auburn, Andrew Thomas out of Georgia, Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson. Again, you could throw Mekhi Becton in there. Personally, I think this guy slipped long enough. and you're gonna agree with me when you see his stats. Isaiah Simmons, the most versatile player in the draft. He can really do anything. He can play safety. He can play linebacker. He can rush the passer. He can drop back in coverage. 234 total tackles, 11 sacks, 4 interceptions, 20 pass deflections, a fumble recovery, and 6 forced fumbles in his three-year distinguished career at Clemson. That one play he made against... it's crazy to me how he gets around the field so quickly at his size. There's 2 things about it, man. He's such a freaky athlete, number 1. Number 2, his first step is incredible. That's what makes him so good. I'm telling you right now. It's that freaky athleticism, that size, and that first step. That's what makes him so good. And I think he's just a casualty of war falling this far. I don't think he should fall this far. I think he's going to be a fantastic player. I know a lot of people are going to say to me, why isn't Isaiah Simmons higher? I just think he's a casualty of war. I think teams nowadays really want to pick quarterbacks, and that's really the main thing that they take. And they feel like they need to pick quarterbacks higher in the draft. I don't necessarily agree with it. It's just what teams nowadays seem to do. So that's why I have him going at 9. Moving on. The final pick of part 1, my friends. My favorite team, sadly, but surely, the Cleveland Browns. Needs, we are in dire need of a safety, an offensive tackle, a linebacker, or a defensive tackle. Options are Andrew Thomas out of Georgia, Derek Brown out of Auburn, and throw in as well Mekhi Becton out of Louisville. I forgot to put his name there. That is my bad. I apologize. Right here, yeah, man, I have Derek Brown falling out of the top 10. I think that the Browns need to get this kid, Andrew Thomas. 6'5", 315, he's the most versatile tackle in the draft. He fits the zone run scheme that Stefanski, our new head coach, wants to run. He's the most mobile tackle in the draft, and he's still really big, man. Anyways, guys, I know that went a little bit longer than expected, but I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like. If you're new, please subscribe and turn on post notifications. That way you're notified every time I upload. I'm going to have part 2 and part 3 coming really shortly before Thursday, obviously. So if you're ready for those, hit the like button and stay tuned. I'll see you guys next time.